This is episode, I believe, 15. And I'm taking a chance today. I'm home like many of you are on quarantine, or at least on stay-at-home orders, whatever you want to call them, as we work through this coronavirus thing together. And I'm here with an audience of 5 Chihuahua Jack Russells. So if at any point you hear them barking in the background, I'll either edit out as much as I can, or we'll leave it in. I don't know. If you're a dog lover, I guess you can appreciate it. I know that Chihuahuas are very controversial, but I love my babies. My fur babies, that is. Sorry, a little off topic. Anyhow, this week, as I kind of struggled with some things to talk about and some things to do for the video presentation, I thought to myself, people have asked me about my concert photos. And at one point, I think it was maybe 2-3 years ago, I actually did a full presentation for a Lewiston history group about the history of the Art Park concert series. And I may do something a little along those lines over the next couple of weeks, depending on how long this coronavirus thing goes. But I thought, maybe this would be a good time to share with people some of my concert photography, talk a little bit about it. Might find it interesting. It's probably visually a little bit better aesthetically than staring at this face because, 53-year-old overweight bald guy, not the greatest thing to look at. I get it. I'm okay with that. I don't like to look at it in the mirror. So anyhow, quick background, just in case you don't know, the reason I started doing photography, and my friends at the Niagara Gazette can confirm this probably, even though they don't remember, is basically when you go to a concert, typically the venue will give you 2 tickets and 1 photo pass. So the photographer is allowed in most cases to shoot the first 3 songs of the set. And the old expression is amongst music photographers and everything, 3 songs, no flash. All right. And in some cases, we sign away our rights. It says we can't show these pictures publicly, things like that. The ones I'm showing you today are ones that I'm allowed to share with you. I mean, you can't really sell concert photography anyway these days unless you're really, really good. And I certainly don't fall in that category. So the reason I started getting taking the photographs of the shows, and I didn't do it when I first started writing, was because I really wanted to have the second ticket so that I could, go to the show with somebody. Now, I live like for instance, Art Park, Buffalo or Rochester, doesn't really matter where I cover. I live an hour away. I live in Albion, which is centrally located. And so, sometimes it just stinks to have to drive an hour and something out and an hour and something back by yourself and not have anybody to help you out. And in the case of Art Park, it was more of an issue of practicality because my concert reviews had to be filed by around midnight so that they would get in the newspaper quickly. And so we had a couple of tried and true methods. At one point, I was, let's say my wife came with me and she would drive home and then I would just write the article on my lap. I mean, if people see me at shows now, a lot of times I bring my iPad and so I can kind of at least get the review started before I start heading home. There were other times if for some reason I didn't have another person to drive me home, I would phone it to my wife. My wife would sit there and type it and all that kind of good stuff. But anyhow, the photography, just another thing I kind of picked up. I mean, I like to call some of these lenses that some of my friends have baby head lenses. I mean, the things are gigantic, but mine are a little bit smaller. So you won't get those 4 minutes of your life back, but we'll go ahead and start showing some of the concert photographs. I like to try to keep this under 10 minutes if I can. So hopefully you found some interesting. If you got any questions, please, by all means, put it in the comments of YouTube. I will answer them. I answer everyone. And please subscribe if you get the chance. I do appreciate anybody subscribing because you keep subscribing, I'll keep making them. Anyhow, so let's go over here to the gallery and see which. We'll just share maybe 10 of my favorite. And we will start out with this beauty right here. This is Angus Young and Axl Rose. Now, some of you may remember that Brian Johnson, who they say is returning to AC/DC, was temporarily out of AC/DC. I guess he's back. They're coming out with a new album. And this was a shot that I took at KeyBank Center and it's a shot of Angus and Axel. I don't know. I think the two of them look just pretty darn cool together. All right, next one. Now, the lighting on this one's pretty bad, and the picture was taken from far away. Some shows at KeyBank Center, we have to photograph from the soundboard, which could be like 100 yards away. And this was the case with Eric Church, but it was a great concert. And even though the composition and maybe the lighting and all that kind of stuff is not great, what I really like about this picture is it just shows his enthusiasm. It kind of shows him interacting with the crowd. So that's what I like about that shot. All right, next one. This is Art Park and sort of a view from the side hill. I believe we call that stage right. And that's a government mule show, kind of catching it during the day. But I don't know. I just really love how this captures sort of the excitement of the front of stage area. And yeah, I mean, Art Park is just it's a place that I love going to see shows, and it's a place where a band like Government Mule, a jam band, they tend to really put on a good show because they like playing in these outdoor venues. All right, next up, Grace Potter. And I think what I love about this picture is that Grace is an amazing live performer. If you haven't had a chance to see her, I definitely suggest that you check her out. And what I like about this picture, and this was a particularly difficult show to photograph for me because, again, I'm more of an amateur than a professional. But there's kind of that halo effect around it. So I just thought that was, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of cool. So hopefully you like it as well. Next up, we've got Ian Anderson. Yes, this is Ian Anderson, Night of Jethro Tull. This was another show at Art Park. You think of Ian Anderson, you just think of the flute. So, I don't know, I just kind of like the way that he's holding the flute here. It just sort of captures the essence of Jethro Tull. Anyhow, next one. That is Gary Rossington at Art Park. And Gary Rossington's part of Leonard Skinnerd. And I don't know, I probably should have done something with the sky. There's ways that you could take like a white sky and make it look a little bit bluer and things like that. But ultimately, what I like about this is it just kind of captures him in mid, kind of guitar player pose, which is kind of cool. All right, next one. That is George Thorogood. And this picture, it's another one at Art Park. And if I remember correctly, I think this was like a late August show. So some of those late August shows, it's a little bit darker by the time it's showtime. And so he kind of came out. You could see some of the lights and everything like that. But he's just a really, really enthusiastic performer. The crowd's just loving him, and he's just coming out and sort of eating stuff up. So that's what I really like about that picture. Next, and maybe we'll close with this one. This one actually isn't a performer. It's just a guy that's hanging out at Art Park. And I've seen him a few times. And, of course, what I like about this is sort of the color composition of his tie-dye shirt and his funky hat. And, for the life of me, I'm not 100% sure which show this was. It was definitely a jam band show. It might have been Widespread Panic or something like that. But there's a guy who's having a good time. And he's the kind of guy that I like seeing at a show. I think sometimes, we obviously go to shows because we love the performers, but there's always an opportunity for us to see the crowd as well. And actually, you know what? Let me close with this one last shot. This is Miss Aretha Franklin, and her birthday was this past week. I believe it was Wednesday. And what an honor it was to be able to see Aretha Franklin perform live. That show at Art Park was just a magical night. It takes on so much deeper meaning now that we know it was one of the last times that she performed in the region. It may have been actually the last time that she performed in the region before she passed away. And there's a lot of great stories behind that. Maybe I'll dedicate an entire episode to my interview with Aretha and her connections to the Buffalo area. But anyhow, that's what we got. As I said, I promised to keep it under 10 minutes. This is Thom. And again, please reminding everybody out there, stay safe. It won't be too long. Concert season will be here. Be here later, I don't know, but whatever. But I'll certainly have a chance to get back together, listen to some live music, and hang out. And in the meantime, as I said, please consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for tuning in with Thom. And thanks to my dogs for not going crazy. You guys did good.